The bad news is we are 20 minutes behind the schedule.
It's Jim's
The
fault.
news is I had claimed an hour talk and they gave me 45 minutes. So don't shoot at me if I don't beat the schedule here, please.
Günter, is the presentation tomorrow shorter?
Yes, tomorrow we save half an hour.
Do you want to switch it? You want to do?
No, it's, I have good reasons not to switch it.
I said please.
This here should be well known to most of you.
If you
Well,
get back
it's
and
a
put it on
HP50,
That'll be
HP50G.
It's the wrong color.
Yes.
Sad.
Some call it a battleship. Who do I mind when I talk about a battleship? Others even call it, others even call it a aircraft carrier. I'd rather compare it with a container ship. On a solid basis, this device has a lot of containers, or let's say libraries in this case. I'd say the HP50G is the pinnacle of all RPM calculators in terms of functionality and capabilities, despite the endless modules for the HP41C. It's really big, yes. You better don't put it in your shirt pocket when you are having a date with your sweetheart. No sweethearts here for a grumpy, old, tired man. Okay? In addition to its endless functions, the HP50G features a full-featured, high-level programming language that takes it far beyond any RPM device that were limited with their keystroke programming, and the reverse polish paradigm was lost when it comes to control structures like labels and go-to and all this stuff. Thus, this programming language deserved a new name, which is RPL. There's a discussion what that is, RPL, reverse polish Lisp or ROM programming language. I would say simply it's reverse polish language to take it further than RPN only, reverse polish notation. All the control structures are also following the reverse polish paradigm. So my interpretation is reverse polish language. Unfortunately, a lot of its potential was not exploited on the 50G. Well, it was easier for HP to take what they had with their 48 series programs and put it on an emulation layer with some enhancement, like including the meta kernel, and I think Arable as well. I'm not sure. So rather than creating a new device from scratch. This makes the calculator slower than necessary, especially when it comes to list processing and accessing variables. We know all that. Some of these shortcomings led to programming style we know as write-only programs. But we know that from keystroke programming also as well. Another ship is on the scene now. Someone is paddling across the 50G and striving, a one-man performance striving to recreate RPL from scratch, using only ARM instructions rather than any emulation. The author of this new RPL is Claudio Lapilli,
It's faster.
will be known, well known to some of you as the author of, that's a difficult word for a German to say, HPGCC3. Okay. Okay. HPGCC3 provides libraries that enable programs created with the HPGCC compiler to run native code on the HP50G. So the author, one of the authors, Claudio, is well familiar with the innards of the 50G. So he's qualified to try to get the RPL from scratch using only ARM instructions. But the objective is to maintain mostly compatibility with the original RPL and improve on performance and usability. So the intended improvements are, as you can see, speed increase, adjusted user interface, more versatile numbers, new functionalities, and last of these, portability. Other improvements may crawl in over time, for instance, doing the dishes or something like that. So let's have a first look at the increase of speed. Of course, the increase of speed is dependent on the kind of operations. Here, with simple operations like on a four-banger, we see that new RPL is about 60 times faster than legacy RPL. The numbers I choose are completely arbitrary. This increase was not achieved by dividing the tick simply by a million instead of 8,192, as you might suggest. No. URPL delivers a tick each microsecond. And it comes as exact number, not as a binary number, so no conversion is necessary to continue any calculation with it, with this result. That is another thing you may know, the 8 queens problem. Saxis from the HP Museum Forum has set up this list of compared benchmark results, and there was a nice discussion on the list, optimizing the code and so on. The program for the N queens has to calculate all the possibilities that you place 8 queens on the chessboard without them threatening each other. Okay, so this is an impressive result, I think. New RPL is 210 times faster than legacy RPL. And keep in mind, new RPL does all the checks, the security checks, that everything is okay. It's not like system RPL or so, but to talk about assembler. That's a full-featured, fully controlled language. You'll find the results of the various programs at that link down there. But this program is mostly loops and simple arithmetics, where URPL is the strongest, I must admit. Not so breathtaking impressive, but still notable, is the speed increase with scientific functions. Look at the famous forensic program, here extended by some logarithmic functions, and you'll see how much faster RPL is. It is about, 4.6, with a precision of 16 digits instead of the 12 digits the 50G has. Okay? And the result is much better than, of course, than with the 50G, with the Legacy 50G. Concerning the scientific functions, the status is Claudio was aiming at first to have it work at all. So there is room for improvement in this area. Just will come perhaps on that later. One of the most useful innovations in RPL is the list processing capability. Unfortunately, it is sometimes awfully slow, particularly when the list increases in size. Again, URPL comes to help. Here we have a simple list. The small program puts the first element to the end and does it about 1,000 times. I think the numbers again are impressive. And once the list increases in size, the difference gets even gets better than for new RPL. One thing that has been changed for consistency can be seen here. New RPL has exchanged the meaning of plus and add. This is necessary because in normal life you are overloading the operators, and in the Legacy 50G the plus operator is not acting accordingly. So the plus operator in 50G adds an element to the list, whereas the plus, the minus, the multiplication, the dividing operators, they all do arithmetic calculations with the list. So for consistency, this had to be changed. It breaks compatibility, I admit.
Yeah.
Well, you have to judge in between. With this speed increase, I believe that list processing becomes a more valuable option in the future for the URPL. Next chapter is about user interface. Sometimes in real life, we see icons which have a different meaning than we thought. What you see is what you get. That's not always true, we know. Prior to our last meeting here at Fort Collins, Tom and I had a very nice trip from Salt Lake City. We are the Yellowstone National Park. Other nice places to hear. And there at the Yellowstone Lake at the famous fishing bridge, Tom took this picture. And then we have the pictograms there with their explanation. One simply says, do not fish from bridge. The question is, what does the other pictogram mean? Guesses, anyone?
No diving.
Don't die.
No.
Don't die.
No.
No water boarding. No smoking. 5,000. No alligator?
It is, do not fish. Do not feed the fish. Okay. What does it have to do with URPL, you may ask?
You crazy guy.
URPL gives you a new soft menu that is just beneath the original menu. You see here, the normal menu, and here, the new menu structure. And for the legacy menu, these keys are responsible, and here we have the keys that work the other menu. So, consequently, these keys do no longer what they are labeled to do. icons have another function than they are labeled. So this is what it is with the icon as the fishing bridge as well.
New labels are here.
Having these additional menus is quite a nice feature. Have one functions menu and a variable menu available at the same time, or two function menus at the same time, or two variable menus at the same time. The second menu can be switched off or shown again. You can switch between the menu with shortcuts. One other victim of this change is a history key. It now serves as the store and record key. And of course, the meaning or the function of the other keys have to be replaced somewhere. Some of the displaced functions are remapped already. Undo is now mapped to the left arrow, and undo now has 8 levels of undo. New is the redo function, which is mapped to the same arrow, but needs right shift.
Question. Is redo also 8 levels?
Redo has the same levels you have done with the undo.
Okay.
So you can go forth and back between undo, redo. If you did only 4 levels of undo, you only have 4 levels of redo. Up directory and home are mapped to the up arrow, up here with left shift, and home with left shift hold. All the functions related to begin and copy, cut and paste are also mapped to the arrow keys, as you can see from the table. I believe it should be rather easy to get used to all these key assignments. We already know that pressing on and plus or minus simultaneously changes the contrast. But now we have a few nice configuration shortcuts.
Oh, nice.
On plus space toggles quickly between the various modes of numbers: standard, fixed, scientific, and engineering. On plus 0, so the figures 0 and 9, quickly toggles between the trading numbers. In standard or fixed mode, the digits classically control the numbers of digits after the decimal point, and in scientific and engineering mode, to control the number of digits after the comma.
Once you see them.
Yeah, right.
But only if digits are available. On plus dot toggles the format of the number. There are the wealth of different formats, with spacing, different radix, and what have you. Simply go through the on plus dot and you see all the various formats. On plus multiply or divide change the exponent in engineering mode. The divide key increases the exponent by 3 and the multiply decreases it by 3. On plus variable swaps the 2 menus I've talked about. And on plus variable hold toggles the second menu on and off. Nice shortcuts. The functions of the alpha key. Function of the alpha key needs some familiarization. First, it invokes the alpha mode in capital letters, of course. If you start typing, you'll see a blinking inverted C for capital at the cursor position. The subsequent push of the alpha key changes to lower alpha, to lowercase. Question? No, okay.
Is that locked or not?
It is locked.
Locked lowercase?
So, you press the alpha key and continue typing. You press it again, then it changes the case. You continue typing, you press the alpha key again, it changes the case. When you were in lowercase, it goes back to capital. When you were in capital, it goes back to lowercase. If you press the alpha key and did not type anything again, consecutive pressing the alpha key leaves alpha modus and gets you back to direct entry indicated by a D or to program entry indicated by a P. That's something you need to get familiar with that. But I think it's very handy because you don't need the shift key for normal alpha characters. So a shift key in addition to the alpha key gives you a wealth of additional directly accessible keys. That's not yet broadly implemented.
But the program entry is automatic if you enter the chevrons?
This program entry is only when you are in a program. Let us just how it is a. So this is a
Move
AMOLED.
to your right a little bit.
Okay.
That's better.
That's
good.
That's good.
Somewhat. Now I need this third hand. Okay, try my best. The mapping on the keyboard is a little bit awkward. So, doing the tab key invokes alpha, and I say this, consecutive pressing the tab key of the alpha key is now going back. You get the idea. Now I press the alpha key again, and the alpha sign disappeared on the screen, and you see the D that I am in direct entry. So it doesn't anything else. Okay. Oh. Ooh.
Don't break it.
I'm not the first one. Now it goes for the shifted alpha. Right shift 6 in alpha modus gives you the angle symbol, and left shift gives you the degree symbol. I'll come to that later when I talk about the number formats, the numbers. I'd love to have the hand free for that. Okay? We fight it. Ah, yeah. Now what? Next thing is auto-completion. When you start typing in a command, the first one that matches the letter or the letters you have typed so far will show up in the status area. Holding the alpha key, pressing the alpha key, holding, and repeatedly pressing the down or up arrow lets you scroll through all the commands that start with these letters. Included are those with special characters preceding normal letters.
Is
that include library commands?
Sorry?
Would that include library commands?
Yes.
Oh.
Just a short demonstration. Again. Does it work when it's done? Okay. You get the idea. Now, let's assume I don't know the keyboard layout by heart. Oh, it doesn't work on this empty heart.
Because, yeah,
No, that's not what I'm.
yeah, okay, as soon as you put the chevrons.
Program delimited.
Chevrons, I'll go, yeah.
Let's assume we have a list
It also
like
goes to-
this, and we wish to multiply the elements of the list with each other. So we start typing LI, and you see in the status area on the right-hand side, you see the command already apply list. So when I continue to hold the alpha key and press the up and down keys like this, you see how it changes.
Wow.
So the beauty is, it shows the commands with preceding special character. So when you don't know where the pi is, don't worry, just enter LI, and there you are. Oh, no, my fault, of course. You copy that command that is seen here
Yeah, how
by
do you-
pressing the alpha key and the right arrow. So now it comes to the command line,
Wow.
and it works. I'm not guilty. I'm not guilty.
No.
I think this is a real nice feature.
That's a breakthrough.
Yeah. However, as you can read there, they are not in alphabetical order. Rather, then the various libraries are scanned one after another, and the commands appear as they are organized in the libraries. To build up a alphabetically list was too much an effort. Maybe is something that happens sometime later.
Has he considered sort of a pop-up choose box instead of just one item at the bottom?
Not yet.
Okay.
And I don't know. See, he is still in an alpha modus. There's still a lot of things to do. His objective at the time being is, one, to improve on the scientific functions, and secondly, to complete the RPL engine before you go to other specific items like menus and all these things. Okay. Next chapter is about numbers. There are two types of real numbers. They are stored with a user-selectable floating point decision to upper 2,000 digits. 34 precision is 32 digits. So once you don't change it, you have a calculation with 32 digits. Although maximum exponent is 30,000, its actual magnitude depends on the selected precision. Most MAR operations will result in numbers that can't be displayed exactly because rounding is necessary. The square root of 2 simply doesn't give an exact number. Approximate numbers are identified by the trailing dart. You can force a number to be approximate by adding a trailing dart. But contrary to that are the exact numbers. Usually, in our experience, they are limited to integers, exact numbers. Not so in RPL. As long as possible, calculations will then return exact numbers also. For instance, 3 divided by 2 gives exactly 1.5. That's an exact number. Then, I hope I find the next page. Almost. Almost. When working with the highest precision of 2,000 digits, the largest exact integer number would be 1 with an exponent of 2,000 minus 1. Not surprising that larger numbers only can be approximated up to the first 2,000 digits. That should satisfy most of the problems. Didn't someone say 640K ought to be enough for everybody? Okay. There are the typical binary numbers also. I'm not going to elaborate on that. Another enhancement comes with angles. While the commands listed above, you can select the various angle modes, and the status is then shown in the status area. In this example, it is the angle mode is radians. However, an angle can be input using a different mode by tagging it as shown here. All trig functions act accordingly, so any number given to a trig function will be acted upon according to the current mode or according to the specific tagging. Adding or subtracting tagged angles of different modes will return the result expressed in the mode of the first argument. Example, when you have an angle of 50 degrees in 30 minutes and add an angle of 12.2 degrees, which actually is 12 degrees and 12 minutes, independent of the current mode, the result is returned in DMS, because the first argument was tagged this way. Hope I get it right.
I have a question regarding, go back to that screen. Oh, well, you have it there. It's interesting because, for example, on the 48, if you add, let's say, feet and meters together, okay?
Yes.
So you say 15 feet plus 5 meters.
Yes.
The answer will become in meters. In other words, the last one before the operator is what it converts to. In this case, in this example, you added DMS to degrees, and then you got a result in DMS. That's the opposite of the convention that's used in the 48.
Okay, I can't help.
I'm just mentioning it.
Yes.
You might mention that to him so that he, so that he's consistent with the way the 48 works, or
On the other
49.
hand, you have to consider the angles, the triple angles, they are not units.
But it's
You're
the
right,
same
yes.
convention. And I think if you do unit conversions on the 50, you'll see the similar results to what I'm talking about.
Yes.
So this is a reversal, from what they're doing with normal units.
Right, you are.
So he should change that. I'm right, he's wrong.
So the 50 does go with the second
I don't know. Check a 50 and see if it does that. Oh, well, I have a 50 here.
Oh, well,
I guess I can check it.
I don't think its goal is to have something that is compatible. It's trying to reinvent the wheel based on the experience that he has. And the goal compatibility was not really part of it. Maybe part, yes, that as much as he can, but
It's a little bit difficult for me.
It's a different
because
thing.
We don't have a number pad
Yeah.
here, and when I did it at home,
Well.
I didn't consider, so I have to navigate around here. So we have 50 degrees and 30 minutes. No, that's not true. This is 50 degrees and 30 minutes. EMS system. Now we add so degrees.
Yeah, the 50G does exactly what I was doing, what I
Yeah,
described.
that's okay.
So,
Okay. Now, we have that 50 degrees and 30 minutes, and 12.2 degrees, and we say
plus,
somewhere is a plus.
yeah,
We have that result.
right.
Now, when I say we go to the, we have it into function. We go to radians. It's still that angle.
Right.
I will multiply this with 1. Where the hell is the multiplication symbol here? Oh, I add a 0, that's easier. But then we have a result in radians, because we have the radians mode.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe this is something not so easy to get used to, but where is Jeff? Oh,
which one?
Oh, G off.
G off.
G off.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Tell
When
him.
we are calculating, for instance, great circle distance, where we have mixed values, either in DMS format or in the decimal format, that becomes pretty handy. Okay?
Yes.
And there are, of course, functions available to convert between the different angle formats. So,
10 minutes. 10 minutes. 9 o'clock.
URPL introduces a new way to access the SD card. There are tools available in Windows and other operating systems to partition SD cards. This becomes very handy, specifically with larger SD cards of high capacity called SDHC. When the initialization of the SD card will be awfully slow, URPL can switch between 4 partitions. SDHC cards are not usable with Legacy HP50G. It becomes more and more difficult to acquire SD cards of low capacity, although you need one to reflash the operating system that will not work with high capacity SD cards. Different from Legacy 50G, the SD card is not initialized right away. When the calculator is switched on, it's on instantly. you don't have the time to initialize the SD card. This is only done with the first access to the SD card. So you have the new RPL, you have the calculator instantly available when you switch it on. There is a wealth of commands to create or purge directories and files and to navigate through them. The SD card directories and files must not be mixed up with the RPL directories and file structures, but they can be the same. Other than in normal Windows environment, URPL distinguishes between lower and capital correct characters. Read and write commands are available to interact with files. Write and read your bytes or records as you like, extending your available interactive memory far beyond legacy limits. So you can build up your database on the SD card and access at arbitrary as you will.
How much time did I take?
All the commands dealing with SD card operations begin with the letters SD. Remember the auto-completion? Walk your way through all these commands. It is beyond the scope of this talk to introduce all the commands. The simplest ones, however, are SD store and SD recall. First of all, they follow the same way as normal store and recall, but in addition, you can have identifiers like my idea, my file, or the list as you are used to in the Legacy RPL.
Wow. That's interesting.
When it comes to programming, URPL opens a completely new chapter. Get rid of the write-only program paradigm. Access to variables is really fast, but to local variables, it's almost lightning fast. No real speed disadvantage anymore by using local variables over the stack. How much easier is it to decipher a program afterwards when you are dealing with named variables instead of a bunch of dib2, rut, unrut, over, pick, and what have you? And you don't need another program delimiter to have local variables. Simply use the lstore command as you see fit, and then you have your local variable within the program. And if you need to recall the variable, use lrecall. It's faster than the normal recall command in that case. In the machine language of the ARM, the local commands store and recall are fast as any stack operation. So there's no need to always work with the stack. And when you still need some brain teasing for the time when you look at your program a month later and you cannot decipher it, then use persistent comments. So you see the difference between volatile comments with a simple at sign and the persistent comments with a double at sign. Once you're done, after a year or so, you have a command available that puts away all the comments. But persistent comments don't slow down your program significantly, discernibly, not at all. So this is a major leap, I think, having better readable programs.
It's huge.
Here's a,
Günter?
Günter?
Yes?
One way you can do it without, if you don't want to use CL50NR, is to simply, for a persistent comment, just put a string in and then say drop.
Yeah.
So that's a comment in your program.
Yes, of
String,
course.
drop.
But remember, the emulation layer itself takes away a lot of time. So any string needs
Yeah.
to be processed first and then put away.
I understand.
So
Yeah.
yes, of course, it's
Yeah.
it's a workaround to
Yeah.
do it, of course. But this is a handy feature to finalize your program until you are ready. We know we can create programs as a text file and do a conversion and so on. But okay, when URPL was designed first, there was no specific hardware selected. Thoughts were in the direction of a prime or something from Swiss Micros or perhaps whatever hardware would become available with respect of WP43S. At last, the HP50G was chosen because it was available, and the author was really familiar with its internal. 5 minutes. 5 minutes, okay? Okay. We see three principal software layers. 99% plain C, not C++, plain C, and some RPL for menu structures or something like that. The new RPL language core is completely hardware independent and easily portable. As an example, the exact same code runs on the PC, as we see, and the calculator firmware. Not a single line of code depends on that. There's a hardware abstraction layer which provides an application program interface. That is the same for all platforms, but the code here can have certain relative minimal variations from platform to platform. For example, the physical keys could have a completely different layout from one platform to another. There's the third layer, which is the hardware boot code and the drivers. This is 100% hardware dependent, but needs to be developed for each device separately. For instance, a screen driver and the SD card driver. So, that should. I was there already, but came back, so can read it again. I have, of course, only scratched the surface of what URPL really is. So what is the status of URPL? Remember when I talked about RPL last year in Nashville? I even had to take out the battery to switch it off and get it back in operation. A lot of things have happened since. Now we have this CL50NR that is really usable, powerful calculator, taking RPM to new heights. For me, it's real fun to explore. Believe me, that will be your joy too. The largest areas that are missing at the moment are the menus, but they will come. Your own T menus are available already. I haven't addressed units, nor did I speak about the help function. Didn't I say earlier, time was short? Okay, time is short, another quarter hour about. But please don't ask me, I'm not prepared for that. Over 200 functions are implemented already and still growing even while I speak here. What is coming next? Claudio will certainly continue, but if some knowledgeable people would join the project, which is BSD open source, by the way, things perhaps could accelerate and improve. And you? You? Rush out, get a HP50G for URPL. Just for the fun of it. Or flash the one you have. It is reversible. Don't worry. HP still around? Ah. Oh. He hides. With XCAS, HP have already included a mighty third-party software in the prime. Why not evaluate if URPL would suit to improve on what you have included as RPM so far in your excellent calculator? Now he shows up again. Remember, URPL is open source under BSD license. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk about the brand new product of Swiss Micros, the DM42. There may be some ways worthwhile to explore. Coming back to the aircraft carrier, perhaps it's more adequate to compare URPL instead of the HP50G with this ship. The applications and programs and everything you are expecting from a calculator simply are going to fly like the aircraft will lift off. I ask all of you to cheer Claudio for his incredible, outstanding work. Thank you very much.